Hey, if you haven't watched part 1, I've put a link to it in the description. At the very end of it, I mentioned that we would begin part 2 with a compelling, well-documented case of the flying humanoid attack against a police officer in Mexico. This is, without a doubt, the most intriguing and credible case of one of the flying humanoids attacking another human. But before we begin, please watch the whole video because I have a very important announcement toward the end. That said, here we go. The event took place January 16th, 2004 in Guadalupe, Mexico. The victim of the attack was Officer Leonardo Samaniego. The young officer was conducting a routine night patrol of a crime-ridden part of town during the early hours of January 16th. At approximately 3:15 a.m., something unusual caught his attention. In his report of the bizarre event, he claims to have witnessed a dark mass falling from a tree. But the object didn't immediately hit the ground. Instead, its descent came to an abrupt halt mid-air. After hovering for a moment, the mass descended all the way to the ground and slowly turned to face the officer. It was then that he noticed the mass to be a humanoid form, feminine in appearance. Stunned to have just witnessed the seemingly impossible, Samaniego turned on the patrol car's high beams to get a better look. According to Samaniego, she was dressed in a black cloak, like a witch. But this was no ordinary witch. He described the female entity as having 2 large black eyes, but having no eyelids. Standing tall with horrific eyes fixated on the frightened officer, there was a brief standoff between the two. What happened next would propel Samaniego from a state of sheer fright to utter terror. The entity abruptly burst into a violent rage and lunged toward the patrol car. After leaping onto the hood of the car, the entity repeatedly struck and smashed the windshield. Frightened for his life, Samaniego threw the battered patrol car into reverse and called for backup. While accelerating backwards, he lost control of the car and crashed it into a wall. This would be the last thing he remembered about the ordeal, as the crash caused him to lose consciousness. He was rushed to the hospital and treated for his injuries. After coming to, he was visibly shaken by the ordeal. Blood and urine screenings determined that he had no drugs or alcohol in his system. A psychiatric exam determined him to be mentally fit. Now on to another aspect of the flying humanoid phenomenon. I wanted to bring up a really good point made by Jocasta Ramiro in the comment section of part 1. With all the video evidence of the flying humanoid phenomenon, why is it that none of these videos actually show one landing? Well, I've come across eyewitness accounts claiming to have seen one land, such as Officer Samaniego's account, but you're right, Jocasta. It's odd that one has never been filmed landing. It's rumored that these entities live high up in mountainous caverns that are practically impossible to access due to the terrain. Well, if true, then it's reasonable to assume they don't want us anywhere near them. After all, if you don't want to be bothered by anyone, and you have some sort of personal flight machine, then such a cavern would be a logical place to call home. So I have to wonder if that might have anything to do with it. But you know, who knows? Elsewhere in the comment section, Renee Cruz said something to the extent of, the flying humanoid phenomenon reminds me a lot of the FLATWOODS monster. Great observation, Renee. I had the exact same thought. I actually did a video on the FLATWOODS monster a few years back. I'll put a link to that video in the description as well as on the end screen to this video. Mr. Surfer Lonely writes, Joe Nickell is a smart know-it-all who thinks he's always right and never wrong. I agree with your sentiment. In the FLATWOODS video, I referred to Joe Nickell as the infamous idiot. Now, I want to publicly apologize for saying that. I do disagree with many of his conclusions, but hey, you have to give it to him. I mean, about what I call Joe Nickell, it's not even true. he's a very intelligent researcher. The reason I slammed him was not because I disagree with his conclusions. It really had more to do with that smart know-it-all attitude. In any event, it was wrong of me to say that about him, so I apologize for calling him that. Truthfully, I'd actually really like to sit down and meet him someday. I think that would be really exciting. Moving on. In part 3, we'll be talking about something that I am really excited to talk about. Now, we've never actually caught a flying humanoid, physically detained a flying humanoid, but we have caught this. What is it? And what does it have to do with flying humanoids? Well, you'll just have to stay tuned and wait for part 3. Okay folks, it's the end of the video, so as promised, here's the big announcement. I literally lost count of how many times I got the same message from different people this past year, subscribers to this channel, saying something to the extent of, "Hey Drew, how about doing a series showcasing weird things filmed by your viewers?" Okay, everyone who said that, let's do it. This will be a brand new series, and I want to really put a lot of attention into this series because a lot of you guys have sent in some really good stuff to me, and I really don't have a good excuse for not having used a lot more of it. Now, we need something to call this series. I was sort of thinking about subscriber submissions, but I'm not really crazy about that name, so if you have an idea on what to call the series, let me know in the comment section. I am notoriously bad about religiously checking my inbox. So if you sent me an email, make sure that you reminded me that you sent me an email in the comment section of whatever my most recent video is. And if I have not expressly said, okay, I saw your email, assume that I haven't seen it. If you'd like to remain anonymous, that is totally awesome. Just let me know that and I'll say something like, this next thing was sent in by an anonymous source. Otherwise, I'll, cite your channel name, or if you request, I can use your real name, whatever your preference is. But please, don't be offended if I don't use what you sent me. I probably won't be able to use everything, so please don't get offended if I don't use it. Another thing is, I am going to see if I can find some sort of natural explanation. It's just that I feel like the responsible thing to do is to try to find natural explanations first, and if you can roll that out, then okay, let's consider a paranormal explanation. So, I am really excited about 2018. This is going to be an awesome year. For one thing, we have Mystery Tour, which I'm really excited about, and I know that a lot of you guys are also. And also, I think that this series that I just mentioned that I'll be doing, I'm really excited about doing this, and I think this is going to become one of the sort of more pivotal series that I do on this channel. So I'm really excited about 2018, looking forward to whatever comes down the road, and that's all I got for this video. Hey everyone, Drew here from madcatmysteries, and I hope you enjoyed the video you just watched. If you did, you can click on the subscribe button below. I'd appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.